Hi, I'm Christine.
And I'm Emma.
In 2016, we launched the No Justice Project in partnership with Drake University's Middleton Center for Children's Rights. It has since then become an annual art exhibit highlighting our youth artists.
This project aimed to show youth in our judicial system and youth who are refugees, immigrants, or first-generation Americans that their future is hopeful and their life experiences and voices matter.
No Justice gave youth the tools and opportunity to learn about their personal rights, contemplate their own participation in the justice system, and provided a healthy way to respond creatively through art.
Using art to elevate the voices of young people living on the margins, the No Justice Project engaged the public in a discourse around system disproportionality and social injustices these youth face.
In continuation of No Justice the Collective, in recognizing the collective power we have as a community, we wanted to focus on reflecting and creating shared values. We wanted our collective power to focus on personal and collective creative statements.
Creed is defined as a set of guiding principles or beliefs, a set of beliefs or aims which guide someone's actions.
In preparation for No Justice Credo, we asked the ArtForce Iowa community some of the following questions.
What do you value?
What do you believe?
How can you honor your value?
How can you live in your value?
These reflective questions were the inspiration for this year's exhibit. No Justice Credo embodies the values and beliefs of youth in Central Iowa. Foundational questions like these can help provide guidance and direction when presented with art with the challenges that we encounter in our daily lives.
The word creed is derived from the Latin word credo, meaning I believe. This exhibit shares the values and beliefs of the youth artists of ArtForce Iowa and how they will pursue their beliefs through their actions.
We have asked our community to join us in reflecting on what this experience meant to them. Here's what some of them have to say.
With No Justice Credo, it felt like a really great opportunity for us to allow the young people we were working with to go from just thinking about what they value and how that reflects on them, but also what kind of actions they could take to honor those values. And that was a really powerful thing. This was our first year that we had completed a full year with the young people that we were serving in the schools. So we were really excited because we had kind of already started to build a curriculum. We had made it so that in the fall, when we were coming in working with the young people, we were getting to know them, they were getting to know us, we were helping them create safe spaces, we were introducing them to the basic art forms. And then we were building up on those lessons that we had learned in the fall and the spring to then think about how do we take this further. And in this case, we've gone from talking about their values and their communities in the fall, and then in the springtime considering, okay, so if my value is family or love or whatever that is, how do I then honor that for myself and for those around me every single day? And it was really amazing to see the buildup of the workshops and just see the young people going through that process internally. For the workshops that we had that led up to No Justice Credo, for the fall, we had our foundational workshops, which featured the young people exploring their values, sharing what their communities were like, as well as us being able to provide them with tools for mood recognition as well as their mood regulation. In the springtime, that's when we went to more focused projects. So some of our students worked on a mural, which still allowed them to think about those values that they had learned about in the fall time, as well as take those and think about how they would honor them. And then other students worked on creating things like creed cards and zines that also focused on those same topics.
This was my first No Justice that I got to put my full hands on it and got to see how it started from the bottom all the way to the exhibit. So we went to the in-school workshops and we wanted to show them what they value and how they can honor those values. So we did a lot of various workshops. It was just trying to figure out what your value was. Because mine was adventure, how can I honor and show that I'm living in my value? So for adventure, so it could be like I'm traveling around and trying new things, and that's to show how adventurous I am.
My experience leading up to the No Justice Credo exhibit was being in the detention workshops and ELL workshops at DMPS schools. So there was a lot of time collaborating with the youth artists, helping them create their project. For detention, the workshops were a little different from ELL classrooms that we were in, just because they have different rules and regulations. For them, we had them create creed cards and zines as well, but we kind of not focused it around like, what's your number one value, which is what we kind of geared it towards in the ELL classrooms. For them, we geared it towards what do you value? What's the most important thing to you? Rather than having like select just one singular word. ELL classrooms, the workshops are more based on like, let's learn about our number one values, just something we do foundational for ArtForce workshops. And we kind of really geared that into forming a credo statement with them and like how they can shift like their number one value into like an I believe in statement.
Yeah, working with the youth was really fun. It was my first time just being in school and seeing them face to face. Previous year we were dealing, with COVID, so it was all virtual. So it was really cool just to be inside the school itself and seeing the reaction. And we definitely had way more youth than we are used to. And so it was kind of fun seeing our staff work with different, youth members in different part of the classroom.
So a challenge putting together this exhibit was there was just like a language barrier with certain ELL classrooms and stuff. And since we did have interpreters, I'm so thankful for them, because without them, we wouldn't have been able to produce like the quality content that we were able to put in the exhibit. So we want the youth artists to understand like what they're making, and we want them to feel like they're being included in the exhibit.
One thing that we ran into was just making sure that young people understood what we were talking about. So even with adults, it can be really difficult for people to think about what they value, how they honor that, and then put that into actionable steps. Young people definitely had some challenges in thinking about that, but it also was a really great opportunity to see them work through that. Somebody who at the beginning of the classroom would just say something like, oh, I just know that I value my family, was then able to take that a little bit further and say, yes, I know that this is a really important value for me, and these are the ways that I can do that and continue to do that. So although that presented a challenge for the young people in the room, it was still something that was really great to see them work through.
I think the most memorable part was us cleaning up the whole room for the exhibit. We used to have like a shop and shelves everywhere, so we cleaned up the shop. We pretty much emptied out the whole room to get the whole exhibit ready. From what it looked before to how it looked in the exhibit was definitely way different. Took everything out. We added lights to our ceiling, which can help show the artworks better. We have over 100 different kinds of artwork, which included the zines, the Credo cards, and then the mask. And all these also included our juvenile detention. Kind of difficult to make sure every piece had its name, but make sure it wasn't shown to other people, and making sure they went back to the correct places, because we didn't want to keep the artwork, because these were artworks that they created for themselves. And so I think that was the most challenging part.
Credo, well, Credo is reminiscent to me of manifesto insofar as it's like, a statement of purpose, or a statement at least of belief system. I think we've managed to capture that pretty well, in particular with the little booklets and the cards, which were had the text of the Credo of the youth artists involved. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that this was the No Justice that had the most youth artists involved of any of the shows that we've done. Yeah, I think the theme came through really strongly, and also without feeling crowded, even though it was a crowd of youth artists involved. I kind of wanted to echo the shape of the masks themselves. The whole of the installation is kind of a piece in and of itself. The nature of these projects, these would have also fit really well in with the collective theme of the prior year, because the nature of these projects was so collective, particularly with the size of these pieces, that they would do much, much better if they came together as one unit, and did a lot more together than they had to say all on their own. I decided to arrange them that way to echo the shape of the masks themselves, and also to create something new.
My favorite part of No Justice Credo was probably seeing the creed cards come together. For the creed cards, of course, we had first done the values for the young people, and then we had done zines on those values, which asked them to think about what it looked like for them to honor those values. And then following those zines, we gave them a card, and on one side of it, they would create an image, and on the back side of it, they shared with us what their value was and how they plan to honor that value in action. It was really great to see young people not only get to do that self-exploration, but also be able to put that into images and words to share with others.
Yeah, the cards were interesting. What was clear to me was that we needed to find a way to make this feel intentional that didn't involve just sticking them into the wall and making like another grid. I didn't think that would work as well. I thought that would be a little bit less visually interesting. I remember we were at the hardware store and we're trying to find things that we could use to get them away from the wall so that they could spin and twist in the, what little air movement there is in the room. I was looking for a way to create a layered experience too, or it would almost become sculptural.
For the creed cards, we had to string them onto fishing line, but we also had to put them in protective sleeves too. So it's very tedious work, but all the tedious work and all the challenges together made the exhibit what it is, and it turned out awesome.
The way that the light played through those was really, really nice. I wanted it to, again, be more engaging, to invite you to spend more time with it and to create something new out of lots of small pieces. In that way, collaborate with the youth artists involved.
So a memorable piece for me in the No Justice Credo exhibit was a piece I kind of collaborated on with the Polk County Juvenile Detention Youth. At the time, we were replenishing art kits and stuff. We were getting more back into in-person workshops compared to virtual workshops with them, just because COVID regulations were going more down at the time. We gave them new art kits, took back the old ones, and in the old ones, you can really see how much love went into like all the supplies. Like the brushes that were included in this piece were all used multiple times, definitely more than once. You can tell that they were really loved and that like the artist at the time that was using them really enjoyed using them as well. Everything about working with the youth turned out really amazing, and like I'm just so glad that they were able to participate in the exhibit and that they were able to add their own creeds, add their own beliefs, add their own like values into each individual piece that they created.
Since 2016, ArtForce Iowa has hosted a No Justice exhibit every year except 2020 due to the pandemic. Each year had a different theme, giving youth artists opportunities to explore, reflect, and create in response to the theme.
For the past 7 months, we have reflected on previous No Justice exhibits with you. As this series comes to an end, we want to honor where we have been, where we are, and where we are going, and those that have been a part of the journey with us.
So join us this Friday at Mainframe Studios to celebrate our last exhibit in the No Justice series.
No Justice Legacies, aka the Legacy Collection, is all about archiving and elevating the many voices that make up our space. These are stories that are shaped by our community and belong to our community.
By knowing our history, we can learn from our past, celebrate our heritage, and work together for a brighter future for all Iowans. See you Friday.